Downtown Ocala newspaper today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
There's a car accident in this country every 5 seconds. That's why Allstate thinks it's time for an entirely different kind of car insurance, with features like accident forgiveness and a safe driving bonus. It's called Your Choice Auto, and it's only from Allstate. Are you in good hands?
You deserve better. Sign up for Your Choice Auto from Allstate. Call the McDonald Agency today at 622-2333.
Features are optional and subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Insurance, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, this is Matt Wilkerson with Verizon. Do you have teenage drivers or elderly parents that drive? I have what you need. It's the new Hum device by Verizon. Plugs directly into your car and sends alerts to your cell phone on the location, speed, and driving habits. And you set boundary alerts. You can call and speak live with an ASC certified mechanic. And if you have an accident and can't respond, Hum will automatically send for help. All this and more for just $10 a month. And if you're in Marion County, I'll even deliver and set it up for free. Call me 352-528-0020.
Howdy, folks. For over 4 decades, we at Dairy Queen have been proud to serve our customers with the finest and freshest cook-to-order, quick-service comfort foods in the world. For instance, our new Philly steak and cheese sandwiches with grilled peppers and onions on an artisan focaccia bread bun. So steaming hot and yummy you won't believe it. We also added seasoned potato skins filled with queso cheese and bacon. Wow, they're tasty. So come on down to Dairy Queen at Silver Springs, where we always treat you like kings and queens.
All right, 11 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Remember a couple of years ago when Orange Lake disappeared?
Yes.
Remember when the lake disappeared? The lake drained?
Totally, yeah.
It was gone. People were people who didn't get the news that the lake was gone were dragging their boats up there, like, to go fishing like they always did. Mm-hmm. They got there and said, wait, there's no lake. It's totally gone. Can you imagine if pieces of land just disappeared, just all of a sudden just disappeared? That's the premise of a book we're going to talk about called A World Between. It's an adventure novel written by Robert Herzog. He's on the phone. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
That is so cool.
He's a contributor to Solstice Literary Magazine, Downstate Story Magazine, South Jersey Underground Magazine, Stray Light Literary Arts Magazine, and again, his book is called A World Between. Gosh, I'm so fascinated by this topic. Good morning, Robert. How are you?
Good morning, and hello, Orlando. Thanks very much for having me.
Where are you calling from?
New York City.
All right.
Nice.
Well, thank you for being on the air with us. I would hate New York City to disappear. It seems like it's so fragile, though, doesn't it? I mean, the sea levels could rise, and that island would be gone, wouldn't it?
Well, I have to say, where I live, the water is lapping up at our gates, and a lot of people, there were cars completely underwater. I never thought I'd see that in Manhattan.
Oh, wow. What do you live on, one of the rivers?
I live on the Hudson River. That's right off the Hudson River.
Oh, my gosh. So you're actually noticing the change.
Well, it's interesting the way, the book starts, parts of the world are disappearing, as you said about your lake. That was a wonderful introduction. And for a while, nobody noticed. And I think what happens is the book's about how people try to cope with this strange new phenomenon. Is this some malevolent force at work or something benign? Is it natural evolution or a terrible danger? And what could cause this catastrophe, and what will happen if it's left unchecked? So that's really what the book is about.
Wow. As the readers, are we aware of why the land is disappearing? Is the water rising? Is that what's causing it?
No, not at all. There's some strange force at work. Really, it's about how consciousness affects our land. We're used to really to how people influence the planet. If you think about the physical consequences of, you're talking about climate change, for example,
right.
That's the physical consequence. So the book really, that we've had a lot of physical consequences of people projecting their consciousness, the devils and the despots of the world, with terrible consequences. So this is an extension, really, where the force of mind is actually what's creating this change, a new kind of consciousness in the world, and that's what's going on in the book.
Wow, I'm not saying I believe this, but I've heard people say that's how people would survive if, what's the guy's name who wants to send people to Mars?
Tesla.
Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, yeah.
Elon Musk, right? Yeah.
Even though there's no water there, don't worry. Once they get there, the mind of human beings will make it happen. It's like, holy cow.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you say that, because in the book, I think it's sort of, I don't want to say a metaphor in a sense, but how have people responded to climate change, certainly until very recently, okay? Mostly, and in the book, you see how bureaucrats and politicians they get this information, but they sort of want to first they want to deny it, then they want to ignore it, and they filter it all through their own sort of self-interest. So the politicians think, how does this affect funding? How does this affect, how does it affect votes for me?
Oh my gosh!
And that's the initial response. Okay. I mean, we all want, when something's happening, we want to deny it. But, maybe it'll go away.
So this is more than science fiction. You're making political commentary on this.
Well, I let people, it's interesting as a writer, I always feel you're swimming in a river and people on the shore sometimes see a lot more than you do about what's around you. Mm-hmm. And so the comments have been a lot about how this, in a sense, is kind of it's a slice of the world that could be and kind of a metaphor for the world that is today. And, as these stories surface, there's kind of the collective bureaucratic response. And in a way, the book is a celebration of the individual because it's the unconstrained minds, this maverick physicist and a team that developed with him, an unyielding New York City detective and a UN field worker, and a scientist who questions whether God is involved in this or what other kind of consciousness there is. It's how these individuals come together to really understand and cope with this new profound challenge.
And the technology does shape our future, and you really illustrate it well with your characters, but it also brings up the question about human interaction, how it could be waning.
Yes, I think that's true. Sometimes I think, that in ancient times people were more connected to the world. They didn't have so many filters between them, so much technology. They were walking, not driving. They were talking to each other, not emailing. And I think that created maybe a somehow greater connection to the world around us.
Yeah.
One of the lines in the book says there were no yogis at the fast food express.
Do you have you ever seen the video? It's like how wolves changed the course of rivers or something like that. Have you ever seen that video?
Yes, a profound impact. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so so maybe we are doing that in a way. And like, for example, if I were to say to you, can you, with your mind, flip the light switch and turn the lights on in the room? You could say, yes, I could if I got up and put my hand on the switch. Because
exactly, that's right.
Yeah, but maybe that's in a way what we are doing. But maybe it's not David Copperfield. Maybe just there's a logical explanation for it.
Well, somebody in the book makes this. What happens is people try to figure this out. Somebody makes an amazing discovery. There's this notion in physics that the observer affects what's being observed. So I kind of thought about that, and I thought, well, if that's the case, maybe there's something that connects the two, the observer with the observed. So imagine that there's like a particle. We have photons and electrons and neutrons. Maybe there's a particle that emanates, that comes from the observer to the observed and connects them in some way. And I call it, in the book, I call it an observatron. But it's somebody who manages to harness that kind of energy in a way that takes a long time ways to figure out in the book, as people experiencing these things.
Right.
And that's the connection, and it's like the gateway to the resident dimension of our souls. It really explains.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh gosh, you know what you reminded me of? Do you remember a movie called, I'm going back to old things, What the Bleep? Remember What the Bleep Do We Know? Did you ever see that movie?
That was a good one.
No, I never saw that one.
Oh, What the Bleep Do We Know? It's not a movie like a story. It's like this documentary, and the scientists show how photons or something behave differently when they're observed.
That's exactly what happened with me. So I was reading a book, a wonderful book called In Search of Schrodinger's Cat. It's about this cat that's in a box with a radioactive isotope that has a 50% chance of decaying, but the box is closed. So is the cat dead or alive? And you don't know until you open the box. That's the observer affecting what's being observed.
Wow.
So I started thinking about this duality of nature, because they say it like you're saying about a photon. Matter can be particles or it can be waves. So I started thinking, well, what would happen if the physical matter that we see, the particles, started converting into waves? How would we experience that? And what would happen if it was left unchecked?
Yeah,
and that's kind of what's going on in the book.
Oh, you've got everybody who loves quantum stuff. They're gonna love this book.
Oh yes,
I can tell already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
Fractal that and fractal geometry, because the fractals are a way of working. It's clouds and cliff sides and mountains and beaches. You know, that it starts with a bunch of street smart kids. They come across a stretch of Jones Beach. It's just not there. It's a mushroom-hued curtain where there should be sand or waves, and then in New York, and then there's like a stone kind of river runner in the Grand Canyon. Sees parts of the canyon that's disappeared. A pilot looks at a strange hole in the clouds over Hawaii, and an old guide in China. You know, he's petrified by a missing mountainside, but meanwhile the commissars are saying they won't take him seriously. They don't want to even think about it. So people encounter these things, and they filter them through their own preconceptions, and that's what's going on.
Wow, maybe Elon Musk is right, or those folks. Yeah.
Well,
I hope not.
Well, when land starts disappearing, people have two choices. You can either live together in harmony, or you can go to a war and annihilate one section.
Well, you've got these islands, these Pacific islands. They've been very vocal because climate change is threatening literally their land. You know, a rising sea. Look, I saw it. You know, Hurricane Sandy in New York. I never thought I'd see a car next to down the street from my block that was completely underwater. It was unimaginable. And yet the way people have responded for so long. You know, just recently we had some accords, but we have one major party in the country, frankly, they still sort of deny it. And, people like to, we're all, it's human nature to deny something because you hope it'll go away, right?
Right.
And what happens? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to reading the book. We didn't get the book, but I'm looking forward to reading it. It sounds, and I love the fact that in addition to playing with the part of me that is fascinated by quantum physics, you're also playing with the part of me, the part of me that is fascinated by observing human greed and human corruption and all that. It sounds like it's all part of this book. Robert, thank you for being on the air with us today. The book is called The World Between, and do you have a website we can go to for the book?
Of course, it's on Amazon and ebooks and all those places. And then there's robertherzog.com. Where you can see, and then there's more of my writing that connects to some of those short stories you were nice enough to mention at the beginning. It's great fun, and I really appreciate being on with you.
robertherzog.com. We'll make sure we include the link on the video that we're going to put up there of the interview.
Okay.
Robert, thank you. We'll be right back.
Attic Mall Studios. This is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Cardinal Timothy Dolan said Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were very friendly to one another around him at last night's Catholic fundraiser, but on stage, the audience may have thought otherwise.
Hillary is so corrupt. She got kicked off the Watergate Commission.
Meanwhile, Trump's opponent got in some of her own.
I have now stood next to Donald Trump longer than any of his campaign managers. Now, look, I have deep respect for people like Kellyanne Conway. She's working day and night for Donald, and because she's a contractor, he's probably not even going to pay her.